Hi, everybody, and welcome to our 29th episode of the Resident Rulebreakers. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Camille.
And today's podcast, we are going to be discussing episode 106 of The Resident, which is called No Matter the Cost. It was written by
Nkechi Okoro-Carroll, no longer a writer for The Resident, but because she got upgraded to showrunner for another show.
And it was directed by David Rodriguez. And this episode talks about a very rare disorder called MALS, which is median acute ligament syndrome.
Yeah,
we'll get into that in a moment. But from what we know, this episode actually brought a lot of awareness to this disorder and helped people get diagnosed with something they were being misdiagnosed for. So.
I think that was one of the main reasons why I liked The Resident, was they were like bringing up disabilities or illnesses or whatever that people really, mainstream people haven't really heard of. I wish that they did that more.
I that's one of the main reasons I love the show too. But before we get into the topic of the episode, we have some heartbreaking news that Chadwick Boseman, who plays our beloved Black Panther in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, passed away Friday night. There were twofolds. One, I loved him as the Black Panther, but I'm also a South Carolina native. He was from South Carolina. So it hit home on two fronts for me. I was very proud to say that he was from South Carolina, and so am I.
Most everyone know him as King
T'Challa,
but he's also had a long career beforehand.
He's like Jackie Robinson.
Yep, Thurgood Marshall. But so we're not only mentioning this because he's from South Carolina like Kayla, but also because Shaunette
and Emily. Well, Shaunette was in a movie with him, but Emily is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well.
Shaunette obviously played in the movie Black Panther, so it is. I feel kind of bad for her. I feel bad for everybody. The whole cast, all the writers. I've seen them post something about Chadwick, so obviously it's touched everyone's lives in the show. Have you heard?
Shaunette hasn't posted, but Emily Moore has managed. Yeah, and Malcolm posted.
Yeah, and Amy, actors and writers and stuff, have posted. So, but yeah, he's Wakanda forever.
The other news I had was that Daniela, who's one of the show's writers, she did a racial bias panel on the 27th. It was virtual, but it was sponsored by Duke University. And the full video, I posted it very recently to this recording in our group, so you can see the full YouTube video of it. We'll just get right into the episode, and of course, the first topic is Mina, because it's like the opening shot is like Mina.
She goes and gets mugged by this guy, and literally, that was cool fighting moves, cool ass moves. No, it was so funny. It was great watching her do that.
Yeah, she definitely kicked some butt, and actually Mina takes her assailant. His name is Acute, I think. To Chastain to get treated for the injury she caused him. But he had a fake gun. But he was just trying to get money so he could get drugs.
Which I think this was the first time that Nic mentioned Jessie. Obviously not by name, but by the fact that she was an addict and it was her sister or whatever. But yeah, when Mina was walking away, Mina and her were walking away from the parents of the guy, Nic was sick. Mina asked, who was it, and Nic said it was my sister.
Which we know further on down the line when Jessie actually appears that storyline plays out for her.
Yeah.
So, but there was I love the sisterhood. They started building this sisterhood between Nic and Mina, and I want to see more of them together. Mina has a clinic in her house, which I think spawned them doing the free clinic.
Yep.
And I want to see them do more of that because I really enjoy seeing Nic in the clinic environment.
Yeah.
But Mina was warned that her doing this, not only was it illegal, she could get caught and deported. So.
Yeah.
But she understood that she needed to help people who couldn't afford to go to the hospital for treatment.
Yeah.
So I really like that. But I love the fact that Nic and Mina were willing to take Atiba back to his family. His family doesn't want him because he's got problems. He's stealing from their store. His mama's had him, his dad's trying to help, but they're both like, this isn't rock bottom yet. So it's sad. But I love the fact that they were trying to help him, though.
Yeah.
The next one I have written down is Marshall and Conrad. We find out that Marshall's reason for being there isn't to invest in the hospital, it's to scope out Atlanta. To try to convince Conrad to help him with this business venture of this private hospital. But I think
in the very beginning when they were in that diner and they kept they had a little boy and his dad in the diner, right? I think it was like symbolic in a way of like, I don't know what maybe Marshall wanted, or I don't know, but I don't think it was that much of a coincidence that they had that the two characters there in the background too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And you see the way they are in this episode, and you know how they are now, and it's just complete contrast. And even in this episode,
the path, the journey.
Yeah, even in this episode, Nic's trying to push Conrad, even though they're not together. She's trying to push Conrad to reconcile with his father.
Yep.
And so from the very beginning, Nic has always been like, "You need to do this, Conrad."
I have to say that because Conrad said something like, "When I left the Marine Corps, I said I don't want your money at all in my life," or something like that. And I was just like, wow, how he's changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he still doesn't go to Marshall for, money or anything. Like, he makes his own money and he lives on his own income and everything. He's not a trust fund baby. I mean, he is, but he doesn't portray that.
Could be,
yeah. But he's not, your stereotypical rich kid. If you know where I'm going with that. Not like he was Matt was when he was Logan.
Yeah.
But this is the start of the journey of Marshall and Conrad, and I would love to see Marshall back in some leadership role in the hospital.
Yeah. Well, Amy has said that Marshall and Kyle will be back. Yeah. So
I'm hoping more.
It's season 4. So
roles.
In what capacity we don't know.
But yeah, there was that, and then there's the Lilly storyline, and this is her storyline is obviously building up to 1/9, which we've already discussed way back in May.
Yeah.
And with Lilly, she spends a lot of time with Devin in this episode, and he's not very nice to her.
Devin was a jerk most of this episode. Straight up a jerk. Okay, so how he okay, for all doctors out there, do not talk to your patients like you know better. Don't talk to them over their head, kind of thing.
Kind of like, Devin even gave these Latin medical terms where Lilly wasn't going to have a clue what he was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we're don't talk to us like we're stupid and that you're above us. Because literally that just makes us lose respect for you if you do that. And then how he talked to that nurse. It's like, for as long as you've been here,
oh yeah,
you should know that I'm a doctor. You're just a nurse. And I was just like, oh, you are lucky that nurse did not go and slap you.
Yeah, I was like, dang, that's not the same guy that I because I don't think he would talk to a nurse like that now.
If Conrad had found out, oh my God, Conrad would have.
Oh yeah, but like Devin, if it weren't for Devin, Lilly could have died way sooner than she did because she was already in renal failure.
Yeah.
And the fact is, Lilly didn't need a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have cancer. So it would have killed her anyway. But whatever. But the fact is, Devin called that Lilly was in renal failure, brought it to the attention of everyone else, including Hunter. And Hunter played it off, the way she always plays things off. But you could tell that she was already mad that Devin had called it. But he ran tests without her permission and everything else. But he goes to Nic at the end of the episode and apologizes for defending Hunter. And Nic's like, insurance fraud. I'm pretty sure this is insurance fraud. And she was right.
It's just crazy. That's what finally Nic gets. Nic gets an ally to her because she had approached Conrad about it. He blew it off. And now Devon is like, okay, now I see what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he was still a jackass this episode.
Oh. And then there's the storyline with Conrad and Nigel. Nigel's the patient with mouths.
Yep.
He's the male ballet dancer, and he just powers through all the symptoms. Incredibly painful.
I would imagine he was in a lot of pain. You couldn't eat or whatever. And so the poor guy suffered for years from this debilitating pain. He wasn't getting all the nutrients he needed because he couldn't eat without being in pain or whatever. And like people were thinking he had an eating disorder, and then not, despite the patient going, I don't want more procedures. He didn't care. Put him through more procedures, which he suffered through.
Absolutely wrong of a doctor to not listen to the patient. And this is the one thing that in this episode Conrad did. He listened to the patient.
Yep.
And he ended up right there in the waiting room, which was funny that Conrad said, this is one place the doctor's not going to come, is the waiting room. Right there in the waiting room, he listened to him, let him describe all his symptoms, and diagnosed him with mouths on the spot.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's so funny because I know you have issues with Jocko Sims.
Yep.
But he was the one that played Will.
Anybody who knows me, anybody who's ever followed me in Instagram and any of the pages, I will know that I have personal issues with Jocko, and there is... Anyway.
Let's just say that I know that you are happy Conrad almost punched him.
Oh, my favorite line from Conrad was saying, you got 10 seconds to get your arm off of me, or else you'll be waking up in the ER wondering how you got there. I was like, Conrad, I wish you had waited 10 seconds.
But yeah, so there was that. But I really love that Conrad he was for the patient the whole time. That's what Conrad does. He fights for his patient. And he even has a line to Marshall or something about the corruption. Like he's there to fight the corruption. He's there to help the patient. And that's the whole point.
And to teach other people how to fight the corruption too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole point of the show. That's the whole point of Conrad's character. And this episode really drove that home, even as early as we are in the series.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I wish they would do more mystery diagnosis episodes like this one, especially considering like there's a lot of illnesses and disabilities or whatever out there that's not mainstream, and it would be great to have to bring awareness to it and stuff.
Exactly, because this show has a platform that they're capable of pulling that. I think more than this one in particular has a different way of doing things. The next thing I have is some Conic, because Nic, like I've mentioned before, Nic really was when Marshall walked by them because Conrad bought Nic her breakfast and she gave it to Irving because she didn't want
Cheesy grits.
Yeah. Marshall walks by and Nic, and because he said something to Conrad, right?
Yeah.
And Nic goes, "Who's that?" And he goes, "That's my father." And she's like, "What?" And she's already, yeah. But they have that same conversation. Conrad pretty much accepts that the relationship they had was over.
Yeah.
But and then Jude's in the episode, and he's jealous at the beginning of the episode because Jude puts the necklace around. She lost her necklace.
Yeah.
Jude puts the necklace back around her neck. So, yeah, there's a little bit of hints with things, but this accepting this relationship that's over it doesn't last very long, as we know. But I was just like, okay, interesting. We gotta talk about Belle.
Yes. He said he stopped taking Bezos for his hand tremor. That neurosurgeon, the neurologist from the episode before, he was talking to him about, remember the golf friend who has a tremor?
Like the golf friend is, it's Belle. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but Claire wants Belle to give a tour to some doctor that they want to bring on or something. And Belle agrees to do it, but when he talks to the doctor's like, "I want full transparency," or whatever. Which is ironic because I think Belle goes there later on.
Yeah.
He pushes for it. At this point, he's like, "Oh, no, I don't want people knowing my issues." So that was pretty much Belle's storyline for the episode. Was showing around this other doctor.
Yep.
Alright. Well, that's all we have for this discussion podcast. Before we go, I do want to mention that we do have a Patreon, and it's set up for the pure purpose of helping us fund the podcast.
Yep.
So everything like hosting and interviews and miscellaneous things that we need to pay for the podcast. Our Patreon account will help fund. So donate at least just $1 a month, and you can go to www.patreon.com/The Resident Podcast and donate there. Also, you can contact us. We have our email, which is theresidentRulebreakers@gmail.com. Our Instagram, which is @TheResidentPodcast. Our Facebook page, which is The Resident Rulebreakers Podcast. Then there's the Facebook group, which is The Resident Fox Fans. If you're not a member and you hear about it, say in the podcast, answer all the questions, please, fully. Don't leave one blank because we won't accept it.
Yep.
And then there's our Twitter account, which is @Resident Podcast. Okay, there is a change up because of what SoundCloud did to their statistics page, and it's kind of messed everything up for me reading how many plays we're getting. I can't read it anymore. It's jumbled up, and they've screwed everything up. So what I've done is I have transferred us over to Podbean, which is a much more reliable source. And you can still use the stuff that's on SoundCloud. It'll link right over to Podbean. I've redirected everything. Podbean is where you'll be finding it now. The link's already on the Facebook page, so you can, when it says website, that's where you click and you can go there. It's just we're not going to be using SoundCloud anymore because they messed up our statistics, and I'm not too happy with them. So you can still go to SoundCloud for now, but it's going to redirect you to Podbean. Our Podbean page is the Resident Rulebreakers podcast at podbean.com. So you can go there and look at all our stuff. So there's that. I just want to mention that. So we're on Podbean, Apple, Google, Spotify,
YouTube.
and then we're still on SoundCloud at this moment. It's just we're going to be transitioning over to Podbean.
Yep.
Okay. And so there's all of that. Next week's episode is a very special interview with Bruce.
Bruce Greenwood.
Yep.
Dr. Bell.
We interviewed Bruce last week, and it was a wonderful interview. But he played the guitar for us. He talked about Star Trek. He talked about the difference in being a medical doctor in the 80s versus being one now on TV. And, of course, some of his wishes and wants for the upcoming season.
Also,
and the fact that he's already got the first 4 scripts.
Melina and Jay.
So, and we have some fan questions in there. So, pay, watch Bruce's interview.
Yeah, he was.
September's gonna be full. We're excited for September, but it's keeping us busy. And to be honest, we're both a little exhausted.
There's still no word at all that when they're filming.
Bruce said October. We got a month.
It keeps being pushed back. We're like, every single time we interview somebody, another month goes. Because when Malcolm was interviewed by it would be September and stuff, but in October. By the time they actually get filmed to filming, it might be January.
Which is when they were promising us the show. So
I know.
We'll see if they can get stuff in place by then. I mean, I know some people have been able to film in Georgia and do it safely, but I don't know.
Shows are already filming in California and stuff, and they have more cases than Georgia, which is why I'm confused. But safety.
But September, there's a post on our social media about what we're doing, and the next 3 episodes in September behind Bruce's interview are 17, 18, and 110. So with all that being said, tune in next week for our interview with Bruce. And my name is Kayla.
And I'm Camille.
Bye, guys.
Bye.